These actually look really nice. So the box is quite interesting. It's pretty bright color and we can see what the speaker looks like. So here we have some interesting information about the speaker and even more information here on the back with a little story about the revolutionary image control waveguide. So let's go ahead and open them up. So I'm going to go from the bottom again. And it looks like they're nestled really nicely in some styrofoam. Up we go. Well, there is some instructions also in here, or actually it's a quick start guide, looks like, and some information. So yeah, the speaker itself is a pretty good size. So it's bagged in this plastic here and our cord is taped to the back. So it looks like about 4 to 5 feet long. And by the way, this is all you get as far as cords are concerned, just a power cable. So you will need your own cables to run the signals in. All right, so let's see what they look like. All right, so as you guys can see, I have the black edition, which, you know, I think probably fits a little better in most places. They do have a white, which could be pretty cool, but they're sometimes hard to find and sometimes even more money. So there is a protective plastic here and it's protecting a really shiny finish here on the front. So yeah, as far as the looks go, it looks pretty nice. Not too crazy about all the shiny, but it's actually pretty tasteful, because it's just this area here and then all this is matte. And this is plastic here and then this is shiny plastic. So we got a nice JBL logo there and it does say professional underneath. It looks like a 1-inch soft dome tweeter and it's not protected, so you know, you gotta be really careful not to stick anything in there. And here we have the 5-inch cone and it's not a paper cone, it's I guess a type of plastic. And it is rubber around the cone, so it looks like a pretty high quality driver that will last a long time. So we do have pretty good depth here. You can see it's pretty, you know, deep. And I'm glad that they went this way instead of width-wise, because I don't really like wide, especially if you don't have too much room on your desk. So let's go back to the rear, and this is where things get pretty interesting, because here we can see all of the features of the speaker, and also you guys can see it is a rear firing breathing port in the back. You know, this could be a plus or a minus depending on how you use them. So if you are really close to a wall or like boxed in a corner, these might actually, you know, go towards your disadvantage of being more boomy. So here you can see the model name. Let's get a little closer. But yeah, you guys can see what kind of inputs we have. We have XLR input, which is balanced. And then we have the larger 1/4-inch input here. And these are pretty standard for professional audio mixers, you know, music makers, all that stuff. But if you're going to use this as a home speaker for your computer or anything like that, you're going to have to get some kind of adapter, which I did get, and I'll show you guys in a second. So here we have the input sensitivity, a little switch. So you probably don't want to mess with this unless, you know, you have really low sensitivity. So below that, we have a little picture here of a waveguide, and this is basically showing you how you can alter the frequencies with these switches here. So we got a boundary EQ, and what this is going to do is going to lower our lower frequencies a few dBs. You guys see here on the graph, and it shows you, you know, when you switch it, it'll fall 1.5 and then 3 dB. So if you're like in a corner in a room somewhere and you're having really boomy bass, you might want to switch that down. And then we have a high frequency trim next to that. We can add 2 dB of higher frequency or subtract 2 dB. So depending, you know, on how you like your sound, you can adjust that there. So we're going to leave everything at 0 and see how it sounds. So next to that, we have the volume trim here. And what I like about it is that it's actually in steps. So it's not like smooth, so you can get it just right on both the left and the right side, just like you want it. And below that, we have the on and off switch. And going this way, we have the port for the power cord. So yeah, pretty, you know, straightforward and simple layout. And you do get some adjustments in sensitivity and EQ trimming. So because I want to use these speakers on my computer, what I had to do is get some adapters to go from the 1/4-inch input to an RCA. And these are the ones I got. And you guys can see we have the 1/4-inch, I think it's TRS is what it's called, to the RCA. So I'm just going to simply insert this here. And now I have an RCA input to the speaker. Now it does kind of poke out a little bit, so that might be an issue. I think I did see some angled ones if you know, are worried about that, but you technically shouldn't be too worried because you do need to leave space behind the speaker. So you need at least a foot or so behind the speaker so this thing can breathe. If you're too close, you might really mess up your sound with the port here. And the way we're going to connect to our computer is just a normal RCA to 3.5mm plug. Now another thing to consider that you might want to invest in, that's quite important, I don't have at the moment, is some kind of foam pads underneath the speaker, because when it's sitting on something it's going to kind of vibrate in between because it's not super heavy. Number one. Number two, it's going to bounce off frequencies of whatever it's sitting and create more ambient distortion and whatnot else. So consider getting either some kind of feet that stick on, which I'm kind of surprised they didn't include anything like that. That wouldn't have been very expensive and probably very helpful. Oh, look at that, guys. The rubber feet I was talking about, they actually include them. It was in the quick start guide, and I probably should have put them on already because I kind of scuffed up the bottom just moving them around. Yeah, I'm just going to put a foot in every corner. And that should give us a lot better sound, and plus, you know, we're not going to be scratching the bottom. Oh yeah, so much nicer.